Hey y'all, how is everybody? Woo! It has been a week. It has been a couple of months. It's been a lot. But I want to keep with my routine. I want to keep with my schedule, and I want to keep with what I'm doing. Hey Andrea, how are you? It's been a minute since I've seen you. How are you doing? I hope everybody is well. Hey Stephanie, how are you? It has been a week, y'all. Woo! It has been a week. It has been a few months of a lot. So I want to step in here today and hey Debbie Mercer, how are you? I want to talk a little bit. It's probably going to be a little bit more off the cuff than normal. You know, I always come with some type of notes, but I just feel like what we've been kind of experiencing and going through is, heart tugging. It's you can well up with tears just literally at the drop of a dime over everything that's happened in the past several months, and then to top it off with the past couple of weeks. So, hey Clifton, how are you? Good to see you. I am sitting here with all my defenses. I got my hand sanitizer. I got my mask. I got my Bible, which is getting a little beat up, but that's okay. That just means it's in use. It's been a lot though, y'all. So I want to talk a little bit today about how we talk about difficult things with our kids. Let me just preface this by saying sometime tomorrow I'm going to be over in the Facebook group that we have, and I'm going to talk more about how to talk to your kids about race. And I'm going to put that over there. Hey Jody, how are you? I'm going to do that in there just because it's a group and I can get I just feel that's a good place to do that. I am going to touch on some of that today here as we're talking about difficult conversations that we have to have with our kids. I don't want to sidestep anything. And I really want us to, I miss you too, Jody. I really want us to be able to talk. So I would love to have any kind of questions or comments. I will do my best to answer them or provide you resources or where I think you can go to get them. I think that we are in a moment now. Thank you, Deborah Mercer. That is so sweet. I think that we're in a moment now that we all realize there are topics and things that we just can no longer avoid. There are things that we can no longer act like we don't have to talk about. We're beyond being colorblind, or I don't see color, as well-meaning as that may seem or sound. Hey, Audra, we are not colorblind. And to see me, you have to see color because my color comes with me. So I understand where a lot of that is coming from. But I think we're in the place now where we realize we just can't do that anymore. Jody says, as a preschool teacher, I need help finding material for play centers that incorporate other colors and cultures. Oh, Jody, I've got some great resources for you. I'll put them up here when I'm done, but I'll also send them to you in a private message. But I've got some great resources for you in places that you can get some of that stuff. I appreciate y'all stepping in and coming in. Hey, Walanda, how are you? But it's been a lot. I mean, over the past few months, let's just talk about what we've done and we've had to wade through a pandemic and look at what those numbers look like, in certain cities and certain areas for African Americans being more susceptible, dying more frequently. We've had to start wearing masks and hand sanitizer regularly. Like I have hand sanitizer everywhere. Then I saw an article that it'll explode in your car with the heat, so don't leave it in the car. And so I'm just like, okay, now I got to worry about my car blowing up. I don't go far without a Bible near me, with me, or in me. But we've got that, right? We've got the whole pandemic thing. Then we've got what's been over, and I'm seriously going to try not to cry. I'm serious. I'm really not going to, I'm going to hold it together. But we have seen one unarmed man literally gunned down on the street like a dog. We've seen another black man literally killed, murdered before our eyes with a knee of an officer. We've read story, we didn't see this one, but we read a story about a woman literally being murdered in her bed, right? Like, this is all within a week in the midst of a pandemic. Okay, so if you don't realize right now that there are conversations you need to be having with your kids about difficult stuff before it arrives, or definitely in the midst of it, then you might be living under a rock. We've got to talk about it. We can't act like because I live here, that doesn't impact me. Because my kids go to school there, that doesn't impact them. This is a human rights issue. And so I really today, I'm not going to get on my soapbox. It's a lot, Wanda, but I really just want to give you some tools on how to be able to step into these conversations with your kids, as opposed to bowing out, leaning over, avoiding. I really want you to develop the confidence in your role as parent, as mom, to step right into it. Because here's the thing. The old adage is true. Kids don't do as you say, they do as you do. So we have a responsibility to really help them and show them how to handle difficulty. Monica says, this is for real times. Girl, we have a responsibility to show them how to handle awkward moments, how to handle difficult moments. We have a responsibility to show them, because no matter how many times you sit down and have the formal, okay, we're going to talk about racism right now. Okay, we're going to talk about, whatever injustices. Okay, we're going to talk about sex, whatever. The formal sit down is a very small piece of it. How you live it out in front of them every single day, that's what they catch, because this is caught much more than it is taught. Hey, Audra. Audra says, I was thinking about how my parents grew during that era of Jim Crow. At least they didn't try to hide it back then. For some reason, I can't click on the rest of that. Jody says, I want to learn and do better. I appreciate that, Jody. That just makes my heart sing. I so appreciate that. Jody, I'm also going to invite you to join the Facebook group. It's called Habits of Confident Moms. I'm going to put the link here, because tomorrow I'm going to go kind of deep over there about talking specifically about race with our kids. So I'm going to do that over there. Today I'm going to talk about difficult conversations, because there are many. There are many difficult conversations, right? Just in the past quarter, we've had to talk to our kids about a deadly pandemic, not being in school, not seeing your friends, not having a prom, not having a graduation, not going to camp, senseless killings and murders, literally on video, protests, riots. This is just some of this in the last week, some of it within the last 3 months. And so we've experienced literally every emotion in the past few months. Every emotion. Hey, Sabrina. Hey, Vicky. My family, most of y'all know this already. Some of you may not, but February 2nd, 2020, my daughter got married in Mexico. And we all are now like, that was like the highlight of February for our family. Everyone was in Mexico on vacation together. That's probably the only vacation all of us will have this year. So we keep looking at wedding photos, just to remember that life will go on. We will get through this, past this, beyond this, but it's not going to be the same. It's going to have to be different. So having gone through all that, here's the other thing. It's not over. None of this is over. The pandemic's not over, because there's still not a vaccine. The things about school for fall are still up in the air. Race relations in America, we're not over that, clearly. So all this, hey, Rashonda. So all the stuff that we've been through over the past quarter and over the past couple of weeks, we're not over it, people. We're not done. And so you need some tools in your hands. And some of these tools, I'm coming from a place of a mom, how to talk to your kids about difficult things. But this is going to help you really talk to other people about difficult things too. A relative, a coworker, a neighbor. It's time for this. We got to end the silence. We can't be quiet anymore. I know that we want to be peacemakers, and I know that we want everybody to get along, But for everybody to get along means we have to have dialogue, and we've got to step into some stuff. Stepping around it, avoiding it, like that's not, clearly that is not working anymore. Hey, Susie, how are you? It's not working. And so today, really grab a pen, a paper, look, grab your Bible if you need to. We're going to talk about some stuff, and I want to give you some tools. You know, that is always my goal, is to give you tools. When you get off of these lives, I want you to know that you can step into something and have a way to do it. Stephanie says, say that again. We must speak up. Rashonda says, peacemakers show up. Susie, hey, it's good to see you, Susie, even though it's on Facebook. I miss you guys. So here's the first point I really want to make. All of these things that we've experienced over the past few months and literally over the past week to 10 days, none of it has been resolved yet. And so if you're thinking about these conversations being a one and done, that's not true. These are I miss you too. These are ongoing conversations. There should not be the talk of the birds and bees one time. It's not a one-time conversation. That was back in Leave It to Beaver days. It's not a one-time conversation. The conversation about drugs and alcohol, it's not a one-time conversation. Conversations about bullying and lying and race relations and injustices, these are not one-time conversations. I was watching the Today Show this morning. I always watch the Today Show. It was the third hour. This really almost made me cry. But then I had an epiphany. One of the hosts, she's got to be in her late 30s. She might be 40. One of the white women that's a host there on the Today Show said that yesterday, peep this, seriously, yesterday, she had her very first conversation with her mother about race. I was like, what are we doing? She is a mother of her own now, and she and her mother had their very first conversation about race yesterday. Y'all, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to do better. So from an African-American mother with 2 sons, a daughter, and a son-in-law, I cannot tell. So my son-in-law is a runner. He runs all the time. I cannot tell you the amount of times I told him, please only run with one ear pod in so that if a police officer is calling you to stop, you hear him. You can't keep running if he's calling you. So how will you hear him if you have 2 ear pods in, right? So these are conversations that Black mothers are all too familiar with. Right? Telling my son when he was younger with his friends going to the store to buy video games. Right? They're riding their bikes there. So everyone else is throwing their bags and the receipts away, sticking their games in their pocket. Keep your receipt. Don't throw your receipt away. Well, Ma, why? So Annie, I'm sorry, I can't even see. Annie says, grew up in South Africa under apartheid era. I want to learn how to teach my kids to be better. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, Taryn. How are you? So there are just and then I thought about this woman from the Today Show and how yesterday was the first day ever in her life, not her adult life, not her, since she's been a mother. This is the first time in her life. She's in her upper 30s, maybe 40. First time in her life yesterday that she had a conversation with her mother about race. But then I thought about it. Why would she have to talk about race? She doesn't really have to talk about race. We have to talk about it with our kids literally all the time. Literally all the time. And so I don't have the privilege of not talking about it. I can't. The lives of my children are at risk. I don't have the privilege to not talk about it. And so in the midst of that, right, I got the runners, the joggers. I'm good, thank you. It's good to see you. So in the middle of the runners, the joggers, the AirPods, please take one out, all that. 2 of my kids live in the epicenter of the pandemic in New York City, right? So the emotional burden that African-American parents have and people and men have shouldered the past quarter is heavy. It's heavy. Now, I don't choose to stay there. Like, listen, I know where to cast my worries and my concerns, but that does not negate nonetheless that it exists. So what we've learned, or my hope is that what we've learned is that the privilege of not having to have these conversations, that no one will take part in that we will all make a decision to choose to have conversations no matter how difficult. Hi, Yaya. Yaya says, right, I see these how young is too young posts. And as soon as your kids can understand the color difference, absolutely. That's absolutely right. And there are really some, people like, oh, I don't want them to lose their innocence. Kids see color. How do they learn their colors if they don't? Listen, kids understand difference. Now, here's the thing. Kids don't fear it. We teach that to them. We place in them that different is something to be afraid of as a country, as a community. So kids see different. They're just not afraid of it. So it's not about ruining their innocence. It's about educating them and not sidestepping the difficult stuff, right? So again, there are difficult conversations to be had. Sex, bullying, lying, race, drugs, alcohol, all of that. And moms, you there? Okay, so someone called. We each have our own personality. Yaya says, if we don't steward their innocence, the world will rob them of it. So true. Love this for my classroom. Teach it young. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you watch children, we can learn so much from them. What we're doing is Yaya said it, we're robbing it from them by choosing not to teach it. Okay, so look, as moms, we have different personalities. So you'll have the mom that wants to just step right into it. I'm that girl. We're just going to walk right into this awkward conversation. We're just going to walk right into it and talk about it. There are moms that will kind of preface the conversation with a book. Hey, read this book and let's talk about it. There are other moms that will literally ignore it unless their kid says something to them or comes to them with it, or it is literally right in front of their face. I want to challenge you to be brave. I want to challenge you to be brave, and I want to challenge you to step in your confidence as a mother and all that means and walk head on into some of this. Now, I mentioned at the top of this that there is something, I think it comes from a good place when people talk about being colorblind or not seeing color. And my new favorite person on this subject is Melody Hobson. Sabrina says, kids are more resilient than we think. Absolutely. Absolutely they are. And this is not but Melody Hobson you need to Google this, seriously. She did a TED Talk a couple years back about not being color blind, but being color brave. And that really is the terminology that I really would like to nudge us, all of us, and move us towards. We're not doing anybody any good by being colorblind. We're not doing anybody any good by saying, I don't see color, because what that means is you don't see me. You don't see all that I come with. You don't see my baby. You don't see my kids. When they show up at your house, at your door to play with your kid, you're colorblind. You don't see my kid. We can't do that anymore. It's time to be color brave. Please, when we're finished here, Google Melody Hobson Color Brave TEDx. It'll blow your mind. Sabrina says, I might have to use that. Color brave. Absolutely. So first thing I want to say, I don't know, this is like the first thing I've said. I don't even know where I am right now. These are ongoing conversations. And here's the thing. If you don't know something, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to ask somebody. It's okay to research. Listen, we will spend days Googling schools for our kids, camps for our kids, researching what they do. What if they got a peanut allergy? What if we know how to use the internet to find stuff we want to find. Thank you for putting that up there, Sabrina. We know how to do it. You can do this too. You can research this. There are books galore, and I'm gonna post a bunch of different resources under this. But don't just take my word for it. Don't just take my stuff that I'm posting for it. right? We research everything. A pediatrician, we move to a new town, we've got spreadsheets of which pediatrician believes in vaccines, who doesn't, how many. Look, we know how to do this. So we can't act like we don't, okay? I will aid in that. I will put some stuff up, but don't just leave it to me to do. Do some research on your own. So the one thing, these are ongoing conversations. Secondly, timing is very important, especially with older kids. Younger kids, timing is a little bit easier because you are in control of their time. Stephanie says, if we don't teach our children, the world will teach them. And then that creates a different issue. Absolutely, Stephanie. Forcing us as moms, I don't know why it won't let me see the rest of that. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So timing is important. I noticed that for my kids, when they were teenagers, late night hours was when we connected. I mean late. I mean like after 11 o'clock. That's really how I became a night owl, was trying to be up for those moments, those glimpses when they're having like a bowl of cereal at 11:30 doing homework or studying, that they were a bit more willing to open up and share and talk. So read the room in your house. When is your older child more willing to open up? You know, is it when, you know, usually it's rarely is it when we formally sit down and say, okay, today we're talking about the injustices of racism. They're going to be like, Lord, just shoot me now. Okay. It's usually that's not when it's really going to be most productive. But you've got to find those moments where your child is open. For one of my kids, it was when we played horse. We had a little basketball court. So if we were outside shooting the ball and playing horse, for whatever reason, it was an easier flow of conversation. So timing is important. Remember, these are ongoing conversations. Timing is important. Timing for the discussion on race relations, racism, injustices. Yeah, so that time is today. That's now. Yeah, that's right now. If that's not a conversation you've been having, hey, Indra, how are you? If it's a conversation you've not been having, if it's a conversation you have been having, if it's a conversation you haven't had in a minute, if it's a conversation you had yesterday, this is the moment to be talking about these things. And here's a good way to start it, right? Because sometimes we're like, I've known moms that say, I don't know what to say, so I don't say anything because I don't want to offend anybody. So I'm afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing, right? Nobody wants to be Karen in Central Park, right? Everybody's now kind of afraid of being her. So now it's like, well, I'm not saying anything. So to be her, you got to really want to be that. So don't even worry about that. You got to want to be that girl that is weaponizing that man's skin color against him. So don't worry about that. But you've got to step into it and say something. So here's a great way to start this. What have you heard and seen lately on the news? This is horrific. What have you seen? What have you seen on the internet? I really haven't been on Instagram much. I've kind of been watching the news. What's going on over there? Just to begin to open the door. Because here's the thing, our kids, they think we've been moms forever, right? They don't understand that we were teenagers, we were college students, we had crushes, right? Some of us, we were hungover. BC, before Christ, right? We weren't, I wasn't born a mom. I wasn't born saved. I wasn't born, right? So opening that up. Hey, Janelle, how are you? So opening that up to let them know we're open, we're willing, we're available. What have you heard lately? What have you seen? What was the latest you saw today on what's going on? This is horrific. That is really a key to them, to let them know you're available. And you're willing, no matter how awkward, no matter how difficult, no matter how you may feel like you don't even understand or know what to say. That's no longer an excuse, y'all. It's no longer an excuse. Much of what we're seeing right now is years of us not talking about it. Hey, okay, how are you? It's years of it not being talked about. It is. And people are tired of not being heard, not being listened to. We're not going to get into the politics of it. I'm not doing that over here. I'm not doing that over here. I'm telling you what I know. So what I'd like for you to do is to be color brave, like Melody Hobson will very clearly teach you in a TED Talk. What are TED Talks? 10 minutes, 12 minutes? Color brave, we're no longer colorblind. We don't have the privilege any longer, any of us, black or white, to avoid these conversations. We got to step into it now. We don't have the option. So stop avoiding the awkwardness and literally step into what feels awkward. Just step into it. Even if you're not sure what to say, it's your kid. You got to say something. It's your job. Because here's the thing. Kids do as we do, not as we say. So if they see you avoiding the topic of race, guess what? They're going to go to college, go out on their own, and probably do the same thing. And we don't get to move the needle forward. So you have a responsibility. Beyond what you're teaching them, beyond what you're showing them, beyond what you're giving them, in your example. We want our kids to have a diverse group of friends. Fantastic. I love it. How diverse is your group of friends? We want our kids to hate injustice. Thank you. I'm so happy. When's the last time your kids saw you fight against an injustice? I'm telling you, it's caught way more than it's taught. And I'm not saying you have to go out here and have a sign that says Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying you have to do that. You can do that. But what I am saying is when Uncle Johnny comes over for the July 4th and tells that very inappropriate joke again, who steps to him? Who steps to him and says, you know what? We don't talk about people like that here, Uncle Johnny. We don't use that word. Let me tell you about a young lady. I'm not going to use her name. But one of my kids was in about, I think it was 7th or 8th grade at school, the only African American at this particular lunch table. It was very few of them in school. We loved the school. So this is nothing against the school. But someone at that table told a very inappropriate racial joke. Very inappropriate. I'm not even going to repeat the joke to you. I'm not. My kid didn't want to be the snitch, right? Wants to be able to just kind of roll with the punches. Clearly was impacted by the joke. Let me tell you about a young lady, a friend of his. She's a friend to this day, friends with her family still to this day. This little girl, 8th grade, y'all, listen to me. 8th grade. She's white. Clearly my son's black. She goes to the principal's office. She bypassed all the cafeteria workers, the adults in there. She bypassed every teacher. She, in 8th grade, knew this has to be handled from the top. She goes into the principal's office, tells the joke, gives the scene that my kid was there, commands this principal, what are you going to do about it? Oh, well, we'll figure about it. We'll figure it out. No, I'm not leaving your office until you tell me what you're going to do about it. I knew nothing about any of this. I didn't even know this happened until the principal called to say, Miss Porter, you know, we're so sorry about what happened. We just want you to know. I still didn't know what he's talking about. This child didn't even tell me that this had happened yet. Raise that girl. Raise that girl that says, that's foul. That's an injustice. I ain't sitting for that. I ain't for that. And no, I'm not talking to the teacher that's standing over there and maybe overheard it. No, I'm not talking to the cafeteria worker over there that chuckled at it. I'm going to the head. I'm going to the principal because that's who has to fix it. And my point about that girl is she saw that somewhere at home. You don't teach that. She caught that somewhere, somehow. I don't know who, I don't know what. But what I'm using that story because that's the kid we want to raise. That's the kid we want to raise. We want to raise the kid that when they see an injustice, they step in. But if they're not seeing you step to Uncle Johnny with that foul joke that he tells every Thanksgiving, that he tells every Memorial Day weekend, and maybe it's just a different variation of the same joke. Listen, we all have a sphere of influence. that we can begin to impact. It's not, gone are the days where saying I'm not a racist is enough. You got to be anti-racist. Gone are the days of saying I'm colorblind and I don't see color. You got to be color brave. I know. Uncomfortable. Why? Well, because this is the country you live in. And silence is complicit. You're being complicit if you're silent. I know this is not a fun live today, y'all. It's not fun. It's not fun. But you know what? I got my mask, got my hand sanitizer, got my Bible, got my water. I needed all of this today to get myself together because I just thought I can't step around this. I can't challenge you to step into it if I'm not willing to step into it. And so I don't even know what point I'm on. I think I left off at stop avoiding the awkwardness and step into it. Hey, Stacy. Stacy says, hello, that's it. Those days are gone. They're gone. The next point is, which I think is point 4, but maybe it's not. It's not fun, but it's necessary. Thank you, Sabrina. It's important to make your conversations and comments with your children age appropriate. It really is. So I'm not saying that you need to go to your 5-year-old and be like, did you see any injustices today in kindergarten? Like, I'm not saying that, right? I'm not. Stacy says, I hope you're recording. I have to share. I think I am. Girl, look, we're going to see how this works. But I'm not saying that you need to go heavy on your 5-year-old. I'm not saying that. But here's what I'm saying. If you start with these kinds of conversations, even when they're not hard, then it's not difficult. It's not a heavy lift because you've already been doing it. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask. How many toys, games, dolls, movies, books are in your house that represent or are written by other people of other cultures, other color than you? Now, we have tons of them. I mean, I had to hunt down Black books and Black authors. So I'm asking you, how many books do you have in your house that are written by people from another culture? How many dolls does your little girl, your granddaughter, your niece, whoever, nephew, whoever, how much is in your house that does not look exactly like you? How much is there? Those days are gone, y'all. It was a new look. I'm telling you, if you want to embrace this, there are many steps, minor steps, small steps you can make daily in your house that makes this conversation more natural as opposed to more awkward. Ask your kids how they feel about what they've seen. That's important. Kids are still home because of the pandemic. So what normally would be they'd be in school and kind of protected from all this, they're home, and when we're watching the news, I know we think they're playing, they're not, they're seeing it. But ask them how they feel. That can be a way to start it, right? If you don't want to ask, well, what have you seen? What have you heard? How, if you see that they're watching something, how does that make you feel? How do you think they felt? How do you think they felt? You got to step into it. Because what that does is that question introduces empathy. And I'm not talking about sympathy, right? Sympathy is, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Empathy is, what would it feel like to stand in their shoes and have that happen to me? That's way different. That's way different. So thank you for your sympathy, but gone are those days too, kind of, really. Empathy is what needed. What would it feel like to step in the shoes of someone else that is not like you and have to experience what they experience? And then follow up with your kid. It's easier to have an ongoing conversation when you don't let a whole lot of time go by in between. And I'm going to be honest, it may be awkward the first 3, 4, 5 times. It may be. If it's conversation that you're not normally having. But let me tell you this, and I'm gonna ride this a little bit. Your children will grow up to do as you do, not what you say. And for some of us, that's great. For some of us, it might not be so great, but it's an opportunity for us to really look inward. You know, how diverse are your dinner parties or, you know, your cookouts? Well, why are you charging them to have diverse friends and you don't? Like for a kid, that's like, wait a minute. Wait, why are you telling me? Why I gotta do it? You didn't do it. So here's where we are. I don't even know what my points were as far as numbered, but I'm just gonna leave you with a couple of things. Please watch Melody Hobson's Color Brave TEDx talk from a couple years back. Consider finding, Jody, I'm going to put some links up here and I'm going to give you some links. I'm going to DM them to you. Consider having movies, books, toys, games, authors of other cultures and races in your home for your child to very naturally engage with. I'm going to push a little bit harder. Let's celebrate July 4th. Awesome. I always have. How about you search out a Juneteenth celebration in your town as well? Some of you may not even know what Juneteenth is. That's homework, right? Because let me just tell you something. July 4th and Juneteenth, they both have to be able to exist. You know why? Because they're both America. They're both America's history. How about, and this may be for older kids, I don't even know, but how about we learn about Thanksgiving and we talk about the Trail of Tears? I'm just saying, we can't just sit and celebrate and act like this pilgrim gathering was amazing and not talk about the Trail of Tears. Like, really? We have a responsibility to speak in truth to our kids. Sabrina says, Juneteenth, thank you for putting that up there. Powerful, good stuff, Deb. I love the challenge. We have to do it, y'all. And people are like, oh, I don't want to ruin Thanksgiving with the Trail of Tears conversation. Well, you ain't got to do it on Thanksgiving Day. But I'm saying, push yourself to speak the truth to your children about why all of this is going on. It's not just a bunch of crazy people running around who don't know what to do. Speak to them about the truth of American history, right? I'm not saying you need to tell them Black history. Newsflash, Black history is American history. It is. It's American history. May not be the history people want to talk about. May not be the history that brings the good feels. Nope. It's not the fireworks and the turkey, but it is American history. And we cannot leave it to the schools to do it. The schools don't always do it. I'm not even going to get into that story. I'm not going to get into it. But we have a responsibility. Whew. Okay, y'all. This has been a lot. It's been a lot. So, you know, I'm going to leave this video up. So if you watched it in bite-sized pieces, maybe it'll go down easier. Please consider joining the Facebook group, Habits of a Confident Mom, or Habits of Confident Moms, I think it is. I'm going to talk tomorrow and go a little bit deeper on how to talk about race with our kids over there tomorrow. I will put up some resources here. Jody requested some. I appreciate you so much, Jody. You are an amazing teacher, mother, friend. Felicia, we are just ending, dear, so you're going to have to catch the replay. But I hope that the resources help you. I hope that you hear my heart in this live. I've probably never gone this deep before. I've probably never touched this far before. Jody says, this has been so great. Thank you. Taking the awkward step and the next and the next. Absolutely. Because with each step, it becomes less awkward, right? But just, it's time. It's time. Gone are the days. Gone are the days of being colorblind. Gone are the days. Susie says, thank you so much for sharing this, Deb. I want to learn more so I can teach more. I appreciate you so much, Susie. You and Jody both. I really do. I appreciate your heart. I know you both very, very well. So I just appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sitting with this, and I appreciate your openness. I'm going to put up some links that I think will support you. Please start with Melody Hobson's TEDx talk, Color Brave. I can't say that enough. I will probably put that up here as well for others as they're stopping by. This conversation in context to that, I think makes a lot more sense. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for showing up and spending some time with me. I'll put some resources up, and let's continue the conversation and the dialogue. Right? As questions come to mind, or as you think about stuff, or maybe research and find some stuff, pop back on here and just tell me how all this is sitting with you and how you're feeling, okay? Love you guys. Have a good evening. Bye.